I gotta rely on you, because I don't know. Okay, it's okay then? Hey guys. So if you stick around for like 15 minutes, I'm gonna mess around in Alan Wake for a minute, and I really want to talk about some of the story structure going on right now that I've noticed. I'm on what I think I'm on chapter 3. Yeah, so I'm on chapter 3 of Alan Wake right now. It's spooky. I don't remember what I was doing in this game. Yes, I'm so glad you guys could make it. I have a whole slideshow set up. It's gonna be awesome. Uh-oh. I hate evil refrigerators, man. Oh. It killed itself. That's really funny. No, great. Uh-oh, that's a flash grenade. Is that all of them? Nope. I died to the tractor. Oh well. Okay, can I heal first? Not really. This tractor will not get the best of me twice. Okay, it's getting the best of me twice, guys. I don't know if any of you guys have played this game before, but this is Alan Wake, and it's about fighting things with light. So these things are infected, and I have to stab it with light before they, hit me in the face. Okay, where is it at? There it is. I'm not sure what to think of this game so far. I'm liking it. I keep coming back to it, but it's it's I don't know. Its game mechanics aren't that fun for me. They're very repetitive, which is just stab things with light and then shoot it. But I see why it was so big when it came out because I'm playing the remastered. I'll admit there's not many games that have you fight evil objects with light. Where's the other one at? Hello. Hi, Evie. I'm glad you could join. I don't know how to check how many people are live live unless I see them on the chat using the system. So if you're here, let me know. Say hi. Okay, I have the game volume loud. Boop. Is this better? Here, I'll shoot something. This is your one chance to let me know. Is that good or is that fine? Guys, was it okay? Nice, Tyler. He's playing Minecraft. My mouse. I'm worried if I play Minecraft. This mouse is really really. Oopsie! I just totally messed things up. That's okay. Really loud, and you guys would hear everything on the mouse. So.
Anything outside of writing is a struggle. I feel ill. I managed to make my way downstairs. There's a shoebox filled with books and papers by Thomas Zane. It's very hard to focus, but I managed to read some of it. He's a poet, and a good one. He writes of muses and creators summoning
That's me,
fabulous
guys.
things from a magic lake, using his powers to shape the world of a realm of gods and dreams and demons, dark things that wait for a chance to slip away, wearing the flesh of men as
It's an
disguise.
invincible TV. I learned it the hard way.
Zane writes about himself, his girlfriend being taken over by a dark presence, about growing scared of the lake. Zane believes it's a mirror
I'll
to
take
the
it.
void of
Thank you.
darkness above, where some Lovecraftian presence lurks. I crawl back upstairs. I'll borrow these things from my story. They ring true. They fit.
So this game was interesting because when it released, I think originally it released in chapters. So instead of how games normally release as like a full game, experience it all, take it at your own pace, this was like a complete the chapter and wait probably like a month or two, and then go back and play it, which is really interesting. And it's in case you haven't caught on to what I'm doing here, I'm going to be starting to analyze games. So for me, it's really nice to analyze things because they're in a chapter already. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going. Oh. That's what the timer is, in case any of you are wondering. If you just want to see the timer under my name, that's when the lesson will begin. So I've got a whole slideshow. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited to talk about it. And if you've got to go, I get it. And I'm going to turn it into a video later on this channel.
The kidnapper had sent me a text. The message was full of spelling errors and insults. It was telling me to hurry up.
Be patient, kidnapper. He wants something from me.
Birds.
These are by far the most annoying enemy in this game, because they float around and they're really hard to aim at. Then every once in a while they just dive at you. And you better catch that VOD, Caleb. You better. Yeah, this is what I mean. So far, it's a really cinematic game, which is nice. Like, I really love a game with a good, like, aesthetic to it. Am I just supposed to keep moving and not worry about him? I wonder if that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, and the music for this game is great. Like, it puts me on edge for sure. Okay, they're gone. Shoot! Oh, is it a maze? Oh, okay, good. I'm really bad at mazes. Vincent, don't you dare. I know exactly what you're trying to do. Don't do it. It's the first one and can't get canceled already. Someone stop him. Someone stop him. Yeah, Alan Wake. Oh no! Who could have seen us coming? More enemies? Yep, there's definitely more enemies. Oh, I forgot I have to shoot him. I've been fighting birds for so long. Oh, hi. Easy peasy. Well, while I have you, I want to know about any video games that you've been really impressed with, like with their story, because that's what I'm mainly looking for is a video game story. And not like lore, but stuff that you actually found in the game.
I'd have to make my way up this mine shaft in order to go on. Maybe the machinery could help me with that.
Oh, we're in the last final second here, huh? Yeah, dude, this is no. This is remastered Tetris. Tetris got a new update. Remastered. All right. I'm not rage quitting. I'm just getting to the lesson because I'm excited about it. All right. So, here we go. You get so you get so excited. I'm genuinely so excited about doing this. Let me go ahead and switch a few things around. You guys ready to see how professional I am at a streamer? You guys aren't even ready for this, all right? Ready? Boom! Now we're on my desktop. I'm a professional here. Alright, actually, I'm gonna go back for a second and set that up. Okay. Alright, welcome to this lesson that I've put together. Oh, this is gonna cover up so much text. Oopsie, not that one. This one. We're going over there. And we're turning off these two. Okay. All time indeed. Kind of. No, I've been playing on the Xbox and then anyway. I don't know what I'm doing. So, as I was mentioning, I've been studying a lot of stories recently while I'm a film student. So like we look at movies and we look at, I mean, ideally movies. We've looked at TV shows. We have a video game section later on in this advanced class I'm taking, but I've learned a lot about story structure and how like stories are working. And I was sitting here playing Dead Space, I was like, hang on, a lot of these things match up. So I was like, and then I did a Google search and I was on YouTube and I was like, video game structure, and nothing comes up. Everything is focused on like mechanics and things. And I was like, no one really pays attention to how video game stories work. But I think it's kind of interesting. So I've put together this little slideshow for you all to enjoy with me. And first things first, I mainly wanted to do this live and not just make a video because I want to know if I'm wrong. Because I'm making things as I go and I'm, testing on myself. But if you guys have a game or something that like goes out of these rules that I've created, I want to know because I want to solve that. And if like the whole thing gets remapped or anything, like I want to fix that. So to start, anyone who's played video games, I've found 4 video games that are all that are different. Out of all video games in the whole wide world, there are 4. They all fall into these 4 categories. All right. And this first one is the linear story. Okay. So these are games that every interaction the player has is scripted. So no matter like what route you take, no matter what things stay locked until eventually you move forward. And then you can move on, right? So that's what like games like Dead Space. I love Dead Space. I'm going to be talking about that game a lot because it followed a lot of my rules that I was making, and it's a really fun game. Also, Legend of Zelda and Batman Arkham Knight, like those are the ones I have up here. But most games that like have a set ending can do are linear story games. Sorry, I'm reading your comments right now. Yes, no, maybe you're right, Shrelt, and just do a separate video. But I don't know, maybe I'll just be the next Penguin Zio and just go live and then see what happens. um, I've also noticed, like, in more recent times, linear stories have become less popular because people, like, developers like to show off what they're making. And they like to make bigger scope games. And as well as, like, technical advancements in technology where previously a game could only run, this, but now we're on, or this. And so you couldn't fit all of, multiple things if they weren't going to get seen. Like, why would you do that? So, and then this next one is the branching story. So, as linear stories have set endings, a branching story could have multiple endings. So, you have this. Everyone starts this game in a new setup usually, and then as they play, they make decisions, and that alters the end of the game. Obviously, is Undertale. Like that's when people think of games that like your choices matter. I think Undertale comes to my mind at least, because that one there's 3 different endings. I think maybe there's a few secret ones where you can either kill everybody or spare everybody or do a mix, and that changes the outcome of the game. I'm halfway through Baldur's Gate, a little over halfway now, and Baldur's Gate is interesting because you also there's lots and lots of ways to play Baldur's Gate, and I'm talking about main story here. We'll talk about subplots later, but I'm talking about main plots, and I'll get back into that as I mention the third act structure later on. So next is a simulator game. So these are games where the player repeatedly returns to the game as like to complete a task. So these are games like Call of Duty Zombies, at least Modern Warfare 3, because that's set in like a live, just a big map. You go in, you get money, and you improve in the game, and then you exit, and then that improves you. That improves you for the next time you go in to the game. So they contain like a little bit of story to get the player started, but afterward the player gets into a game loop, which we'll mention later. A game loop is an important term to remember because we're going to remember that. I feel like a professor. I'm not a professor. I'm just having fun. And so like, I have written, you collect the resources, you gain an advantage by collecting a resource, either by crafting that something or, and then you gain access to new resources that can put you back at the beginning where you collect the better resources. So Project Zomboid, most recently, they got a lot of hate, is Skull and Bones. I played this game. I played the trial for this game, and I have a friend who really, really likes it. And that's, I mean, the Skull and Bones is a ship. Here, let me go ahead and Google it for you. Skull and Bones has been getting a lot of backlash for feeling like it's unfinished and things. But Skull and Bones is a pirate game where you sail the seas. That's sweet. I don't know. You could find monsters in there, and go collect resources and upgrade your boat, and eventually reach a higher level. And that's the kind of a game loop I'm talking about. Project Zomboid has been mentioned. So finally is an arcade game. So these have been really, really common recently, where story's almost non-existent. I have Call of Duty right here. I think this is Call of Duty. I'm thinking of Call of Duty. Call of Duty does have a story, but it's separate to the multiplayer. So I'm talking about mostly like multiplayer kind of games. So games like Fortnite or any other Battle Royale games mostly end up being an arcade game. And the difference between like a simulator and an arcade game is an arcade game is mostly entirely contained. Like you have a set goal in a match, you get the match and you win, right? And in a simulator game, you may have like a goal to collect a resource or something, but it's not usually set. It's usually up to you. And then you go out, you collect the resource, you do it, and you're back in the loop. But this one's you finish it and then you start a new game, right? So I have Mario Kart here. I think this follows what I'm saying, where you have a match, your goal is to get first, second, third, at least, you're going for first, and then if you get that or if you don't, the thing is over. Getting an error right here. Is everything okay? Boop, boop, boop. I think it's okay because people are still commenting on what I have to say, so I hope. I also have, arcade games may have like lore. They often do not have story. So like, the difference is that a story is found in the game by playing it. Like it's pretty obvious to find. But lore is like someone putting on their nerd glasses and saying, actually, I've read the developer's manual and they stated, as a player, we shouldn't have to, the average player shouldn't have to research story to figure out what they're doing. So that's why it's an arcade game. So now we're here to this stuff that I've been learning a lot about in school, okay? And this is the 3-act structure. Thank you, Tyler, for confirming that. 3-act structure is as simple as beginning, middle, end. That's it, right? And it took me a minute to realize that. So as I've been learning in film, so this panel here is going to all apply to film, and then we'll adjust it for video games because it changes, and I think it's interesting. But the first act of a film does two things: it introduces the world and it sets the main tension. And in video games, it's most commonly referred to as the main quest, right? In my film classes, we call it the main tension. What does the main character have to solve? In video games, it'd probably be called the main quest. So in film, this usually takes up 25% of the movie or two sequences, which I'll mention later. And then we move into the second act. And the second act takes up 50% of the story. And that's the middle of everything. That's where the character struggles to accomplish the main tension. They struggle to do that. It's also where tensions get raised. And in video games, I've noticed, it's where the big, bad, evil guy gets introduced. And usually in the middle of the second act, the main tension either evolves or resolves. So in the middle of a movie, usually, you'll find that a movie ramps up to like, are they going to do this thing? And in the very middle of the movie, usually in like about 10-minute span of the movie, they either solve it or the problem gets worse or, something gets in the way. So we call that a culmination in my film classes, which I really like that word. So, but I haven't noticed that I've noticed the culmination in some things. So in Dead Space, there's a culmination where you get introduced to the doctor, the evil doctor, for the first time. For those that have played it, And then there's the end, the third act, which is the end of the story, where the protagonist concludes the main tension previously set, like completely, like there's no loose ends, and all the subplots get tied up in a nice bow, and the movie ends. Usually. And that's kind of the basic baby, like, beginning, middle, end of a movie, usually. And this is all just what I've been mentioning. You know, you get introduced, things get set up, stakes get higher, rising action, they might solve it, they might not, and then in some movies there's a crisis, there's something that's like a third act twist that changes everything, and they have to like do a loop-de-loop and make sure it's solved in one final effort, and then everything gets wrapped up. If you guys have any questions about this, I would love to try and answer them to the best of my ability. I'm still not a professor, so. Now, 3-act structure is interesting because it like applies to almost everything, and I've learned this too. Like movies and scene sequences, episodes even, and movie series all follow a 3-act structure because it's less first act, second act, third act, and more beginning, middle, and end. You know, in a scene, you set up like, hey, we need to get to point B, and then on the way they get bombed or something, and then they manage to make it out, and that could be a scene, and that's a beginning, a middle, and an end, or a 3-act structure. I have this here for like Finding Nemo. I don't really want to go through everything. You guys follow this so far? You guys are making sense? Although we could go through this, but it's been a minute since I've seen Finding Nemo. Because now we get into the new stuff, all right? So this is all going to apply mostly to linear and branching games, because arcade games and simulator games usually don't have story as strong, right? Hey, I'm a little worried because I have this error screen up here. Oh, okay. Thanks, Tyler. I was worried that you guys weren't seeing anything or something had gone wrong, but I hate it when that happens too, Tyler. Anyway, going back, I've noticed in video games, well, you have a beginning, a middle, and end. A middle end is way bigger in video games because that's where all the fun is, right? As I was mentioning earlier, sequences. So movies tend to follow an 8-sequence pattern, which like changed my life, guys. Like for writing movies, it's just writing 8 short films. Crazy. And then it's split up, 25, 50, 25. 2 dedicated to the first act, 4 to the second, and 2 to the final third act. But I haven't really found like a sequence structure for video games. They all tend to be a little different, being longer or shorter and stuff. And sometimes, like, the first act especially is even really small. Like, here, I have this linked that we can watch together. Oopsie. Go away. I don't want it. I'm not sponsored by this guy.
It's a personal trainer that assesses your strength
Whoa.
and weight.
Okay. Be gone. So this is the Baldur's Gate 3 intro cinematic, right? Does anyone play Baldur's Gate 3, by the way? Okay, subplots are interesting. I have those, I think, on the next slide. So we'll get to those. Alright. I don't know if this is going to be playing, because... Is this playing anything? Because I think it might be playing through here. Oh, I know what I've got to do. Hang on a minute. I just got to switch my... Okay, that should fix it. Yes? No? No. Interesting. Okay, well, I can't play videos, so... I'll narrate it, This is the intro to Baldur's Gate 3. There is this girl named Lizelle, and then there's this evil guy, and he has a little bitty tadpole, and he puts it in her eye, and you're like, I don't want that to happen to me. Yeah, look at this. Icky. Ah! You're lucky you don't have sound design for this. Anyway, and then he leaves, and then you get some more exposition on what's going on out here, which is that this guy's not very nice. He wants to be a little kid playing with toys, but he's a grown man, so he can't really do that. And then there's dragons fighting it, because it's D&D. Bye, buddy. And then, they set more things up, and then wherever it is. Oh, I missed it. It must be right over here, right here. Because he gets another one, and he looks at, yeah, here it is. So he puts it in Lae'zel's eyeball, and then he comes over to you and makes you look at him using his force powers. And, yeah. So, he puts it in your eyeball. And then eventually, you land, you get off this ship. Like, because right at the end of the cutscene, you make your character, right? Go back, we're not there yet. So, that was the inciting incident. Not if they're destroying towers, Tyler. So, because the main plot to Baldur's Gate, there's a lot of subplots, but the main plot is get the little tadpole out of your eyeball, out of your brain. But that's when it gets set up. Like, that tiny little section compared to the 80-hour game ahead of it, that was 6 minutes? Like, that is a tiny, tiny portion, and the main tension has more or less been set up. And that's different than movies. So, anyway, moving on. As the second act, I mentioned how the second act usually gets all the limelight because that's where the action takes place. I also have a whole Dead Space thing set up, but it's hard to follow. Let me. Oh my gosh. Be quiet. Boop. So Dead Space. Look, they've already landed on the ship, right? So Dead Space works a little bit closer to a movie, where it gets set up a little slower than Baldur's Gate. But you start on here on the ship, and you get a little more exposition about your character, about why he's there, and then you move on to getting in the ship. This is, let me see. Yeah, so there's like, oh, something's going weird on the ship. Maybe we should look into that. And you do, and that's setting up the incident, which is that there are monsters on the ship. And they do that to people, and that's not cool. And suddenly, you're trapped on a broken ship. Not cool. So the main quest is survive. In fact, this originally gets set up as a sequence for Chapter 1 to get back to your ship, but you can't go through there because there's a monster. Right? So this whole first sequence, I'm calling it a sequence, they call it a chapter in the game, is get back to the ship, and on your way, you get introduced to a weapon, you get introduced to how to kill the bad guys, stasis. These are all like second act things. Like these are all like we're setting things up, or sorry, first act things, where we're setting up things, we're introducing the player to things that they're unfamiliar with. And I can't tell, I wish there were timestamps on here for chapters, but it can't be here. Okay, it's a little behind this. I'll make timestamps for my next stream. Yeah, here. So finally you work your way back and you manage to get back to this ship, which is damaged a little bit. And you get this like half cut scene, and you go in here and everything seems chill. You're like, hey, we need to get out of here. You're explaining what's going on. When suddenly, where's it at? You get this little argument. Here we go. There should be, oh wait, over, sorry guys, it's been a minute. There's a monster attacking your ship, and they're like, this isn't very great, we gotta evacuate. And, yeah. And the ship blows up. Boom. In fact, I think you fly out the window, like out of the front window, which is, yeah, lucky, very lucky. Yeah. So this gets destroyed, and now you're back on the infested ship. What can you do? So now it becomes, don't get off the ship, or instead of get to the ship, it's survive and find a different way off the ship. And that's what the rest of this game is right here at 39 minutes ish, like 45, I guess. I think is when it's mentioned. But this is when your main tension is set up, which is, can you survive by getting off of this ship? And things move forward. You have to accomplish different tasks. And then at the end, maybe you do. I won't spoil this game. I think it's too good to be spoiled. Makes sense? Whoa. Guys, I missed the chat. What are we talking about? Can't buy father figure. Think. Anyway. Yeah, so that's then we move into the third act of video games, which it tends to be kind of short. But that's where you fight the big bad evil guy at the end of the game. And once you defeat that, usually everything wraps up. And that's kind of the culmination, is the third act. So if there are only 3 acts, and movies are only 2 hours usually, why are video games so long? And that's when we enter these subplots and side quests. Because unlike movies where you have a limited amount of time to talk about things, games can be anywhere from 5 hours to hundreds of hours, which is crazy. So once this main tension is set up, that's where you can bring in subplots and side quests. I say once the main I mentioned how subplots come in during the second act, which is true because sorry, it is a pattern for subplots to show up during the second act in movies, and that also seems to be apparent in video games as well. So you have your main plot that we talked about, and then you have subplots, little side quests that, like, if you go and do, don't really affect the main tension, right? You can come back to the main tension. This right here, if you're curious, this is a list of all the side quests in Skyrim. So all of these are completely unrelated to the main quest of Skyrim. A movie can't do that. Like, a movie can pick one and stick with it, but a video game, they have all the time in the world, really. As much time as the player is willing to give, they can spend time in the game. In Baldur's Gate, most obviously, Baldur's Gate is another one with a lot of subplots. In fact, I want to know how many side quests are in Baldur's Gate. Oop. This doesn't have anything. I guess this hasn't been discovered yet. Yeah. That's too bad. So, anyway. At least I've found the most obvious ones is you get that little parasite in your eyeball. Big sad. And then you meet these other people who all have the same problem. And as you explore the world and talk to them, you can understand more about their past, and you can actually help out. Like Karlak, for example, her heart's going to explode if you don't get a certain type of metal. And if you get the certain type of metal, she's really, really grateful. And that's a subplot. In Dead Space, it works more like a movie, which is why I think I really like Dead Space. Is it's very slow. Schrold says Among Us. If you're asking Among Us for what kind of game it is, I'd say that's an arcade game, because you don't carry anything over between matches, and all the story you learn about that game is through lore. You don't find that out through the game. Oh, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Dead Space. So this is Nicole Brennan. She's a character that shows up in like chapter 2, I think, as a hologram, and then you follow her story a little bit more. And her story is all about how the ship got infected in the first place. So that technically is unrelated to the main quest, which is survive. Learning about why you need to survive, or not why you need to survive, but learning about why the ship is infested is a subplot. And you learn about that, and it gets resolved at the end of the game as well, I think. And that's actually a lot of reading for that, as you can talk to her and she gives like a basic one, but you can also find things around. Let's see, what else do I have? Right, movies usually have one or two subplots, but branch story games and linear story games, like, they can have so many. It's crazy. But that also makes video games unique. So we move on to chapter scene structure. So I kind of mentioned this. In Dead Space, almost every mission follows this process, which is the player has a goal that must be completed, and they set out to solve it. For example, there's a mission where the asteroids are in the way of the ship before, so you can't fly away without destroying the asteroids. On their way, you have multiple tasks to complete. For example, you have to unlock actually outside to shoot them, and you also have to link your gun to like a missile thing, and that's all separate goals to completing the mission, the level. And then once you complete those tasks, you can complete the goal, and then you can complete the level and move on to the next one. So if I still have, I think I still have it up. Yeah. I don't know if I'll find it, but for once in a while, you get this little thing, and this, this is later. Let's see. Sorry about the ad for South Park. So I think here he's trying to turn back on the lights. Yeah, I'll dive more into things later about specific items. But if you guys follow what I'm saying, you get set up with something like a beginning, and then it is a lot like TV shows, because in a TV show it follows the same thing. Something gets set up in the episode, they complete the thing by the end of the episode. If it's something like Breaking Bad, then the thing they complete in the episode at the end sets up the thing for the next episode, and then leaves you kind of on a cliffhanger because it sets up a new tension that has to be resolved next episode, all in while encompassing this main quest. And you're right, video games work much more like that, where you have one task to complete the way larger goal. You have to destroy the asteroids to eventually reach safety. So that's kind of what I mean by chapter scene structure, which I'd like to study more, because in movies it's 8 usually. Usually. In video games it seems to be all over the place, but I'm sure there's a pattern somewhere. Anyway, let's move on. So this is the final thing I have to mention, which is the types of levels. This is half finished right now. I really want to know your guys' thoughts on this. So I think I have 3 so far. 3 types of levels, which is an adventure, and that's the most common, I'd say, which is they require the player to reach a location and then challenges the player to do that. In Dead Space, and usually once they reach the place, there's a challenge there too. Going back to the asteroid. The asteroid is, you have to get to the outside to destroy the asteroids. Okay, so you get to point A to point B, and then, oh no, you have to match your gun to the laser cannon. Okay, so then you have to go match your gun to the laser cannon. All the while there's monsters. And then you get to point B finally, and you open up the airlock, and you get out there and you shoot the asteroids. That's an adventure, and a lot of other games follow that too. And then a collection level is less common, but it's where the player has to find and interact with multiple items before proceeding. If anyone's played Dead Space, there's one with the Weezers, and they're like these little lung creatures that, like. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. You have to go find them and like paralyze them or something like that. If you've played any like Legend of Zelda game, there's before you unlock a temple. I don't know if it's in all of them actually, but before you unlock a temple, you usually have to go find the pieces of the key. So if you ever have a level where you need to go find certain pieces to get somewhere else, I'd call that a collection level. Um, yeah, and then I have the game loop, but I want to mention how these are different than just collecting random items because they're specific. Like once you pick them up, they're gone forever. Like that's how you evolve the story. And then finally we have loop, like a game loop. And this is where the player searches for a resource and they can utilize them to improve their gameplay in the future, just like those simulator games we were talking about. So these items are usually found in like broad locations throughout the map, like maybe like areas and things, but they're not specifically placed like a collection item. They're always available. So while most games do not highlight game loops as their main mechanic, most games include smaller game loops like upgrading gear, which is why I have this little thing here, this is Skyward Sword. This is one of my favorite games, mainly because I just played it as a kid. But in this, you have to, if you want to upgrade your shield, you have to collect these 4 items. These 4 items can be met by killing monsters, by collecting tumbleweeds, or sometimes there's bugs you have to collect, right? And so those are out in the dangerous world, and you go collect them, you bring back, and then you improve it. This is not anything to do with the main quest. This isn't like even a level. This is completely optional. But I think it's worth mentioning that games can have a game loop. It probably should have a game loop, even if it's not their main thing. In fact, that's what this is. This is a screenshot from this video by Game Maker's Toolkit, which when I turn this into a video, I'll link that because if you're interested in game creation, this is certainly something to look at. Where this is the same thing I just described with visuals. So here's your inventory, here's the world, and I'll explain that in a second. So your character gets things from the world. In the video, they call this a tap. So killing monsters, collecting bugs, picking up items. They go to your inventory. Very cool. Now there are 3 things that can happen in your inventory. You can craft better items, just like depicted here. You can trade for items or get more expensive things by trading them for money and then using this as for then improving your gear. And you also have a drain. And a drain is usually if your character dies, you lose items. So if you get something and you die, it's going to go back to the world and you have to go back and get it. Cool, right? So this goes on in the second act of a game. And all these level mechanics are identified by their goal. What makes games interesting and unique are the challenges the player overcome to accomplish them. This right here is what people get excited about making games for, with good reason. Is following a cookie cutter layout where, player gets put in a war, they have to survive, maybe they're caught, and then they escape. That can be considered boring. I don't think it's boring, but maybe that's just because I like movies. But for a video game creator, that sounds sad. That sounds like the player doesn't have much to do. But this right here is, what if you had a game where, I don't know, give me an example of a game, guys. What if you had a game where you were Subnautica, where you were underwater and you had to go find things and you had to survive, and it's all set underwater and you have to fight big monster beasts? Like, that's not necessarily following this. That is following what mechanics you have to have. So this is my lesson that I have today. Ta-da. I get really excited about this. In fact, I want to keep continuing and looking for different levels and different things that a game uses to involve players. So I think I'll write something up for next week. Let me just go ahead and switch back over to our game. And I also I thought it'd be really cool if I kind of found these as I was playing. So I downloaded this game called Firewatch. It's about a 4-hour game. I'm thinking about playing it on Thursday. So if you're interested in seeing me play a game and talking about maybe the story structure that we've mentioned, this is a 4-hour game that I don't know how much I'll play, but maybe Thursday night or something. I'm not sure. Keep track of my Instagram. I'll play this game live, and you guys can comment or do whatever you like. Another game I'd like to mention is Amnesia: The Bunker. This game follows things pretty closely as well. I think horror games are a great genre for video games because that's, it's horror movies are different than horror games. Like they have a different emotional tone. I'd also like to play Dead Space again sometime. But for now, I've been in Alan Wake. I also want to mention how, big bad evil bad guy, big bad evil guy, they don't show up until usually the second or third, at least in Alan Wake and in Dead Space. The big bad evil guy doesn't show up until like the second or third, usually third or fourth chapter, and he's only hinted, like not shown. In Dead Space, it's just a tentacle that grabs you. In Alan Wake, you just see some trees get knocked over. So that's my lesson, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be here playing games for another 15 minutes, I think, and then if you guys want to stick around, you can. If you got things to do, I get it. If you want to ask me any questions, I'm here to learn just as much as you guys are here to listen. So let me know. Do I have to make that? Or am I going over there? Is that where I'm going? What's up here then? Just nothing? Weird. Also, for those of you that are still around, should the mustache stay? It's in an awkward phase. And I don't know. Why am I kicking it? Oh, that's what I'm kicking it. It's in an awkward phase right now. Oh, crap. So I'm not sure if I should stick with it or not, but what do you guys think? Oh, I follow what I'm doing. Shroud says no, as in shave it, or as in keep it. And Jack says definitely let it see it through. So. Dang, I got spiky boots. I have such a problem with always feeling like I have to explore every corner of a game. Like if there's 2 ways to go, I have to go one and then the other. Shave. Maybe I should. We'll see. I wasn't going to grow out a mustache, but I told my mom as a joke. I was like, "Hey, should I grow out my mustache?" And she's like, "Yeah." I thought that was enough for me. What am I looking at here? Just the view. Very nice. I'm going to speak at the high school tomorrow. So the high schooler here told me to keep it. So I think that's probably what I'm gonna do.
Things were never as simple in real life as in fiction. I had lost count of the times I had wished there'd be a clear reason for my writer's block. Something to fight. Something to lash out on.
Does this stuff bug you in
I was
games?
filled with doubt. I was nothing like the hero in my books. Alex Casey had gone through his life with single-minded determination, never wavering.
Like when a game,
Even behind the
a
closed
game's
doors and
lore-ish,
conversations
I call it story here, but
local motel,
is just
Nightingale could feel
brought to you in
Bond's
chunks of
eyes,
text.
the unrelenting pressure of their judgment. He forced it out of his mind. For all he knew, they could all be under Wake's spell already. You do what you have to do to get the job done. He took Vermont, spying on the writer on the ferry had been a disappointment. His boss had made Wake out to be something special, but Mott hadn't been impressed. He'd gotten a good long look at the wife, though, and he liked what he saw. Mott had fantasized about goading Wake into a fight, but it hadn't happened. Still,
Parkour. Hang on, I still have that, right? Tyler says it depends on the game, and I think you're right. Oh crap. Amnesia the Bunker has, I mean, its main thing is get through the game, like survive, but it has a bunch of notes you can find if you want to figure out more about the beast. So I think as a subplot, I think it works.
oh, great. Another cable car. Just great.
I'm out of flare gun ammo. Birds, come here. Oh, sweet. I guess they're dead. Resident Evil 2, I think, is on my list of games to play. I sure hope nothing bad happens while I'm on this lift. Ah! Take that, birds. Oh, crap. I see you. Yeah, I'm curious about other games you should have me look at. Preferably shorter games, but I'm open to playing a little bit. Depends how much you guys like me. So this is what I mean. This is the big bad evil guy. Where it's just like, I still haven't seen him. I'm on chapter 3. But he's been heavily hinted. Oh, what the? Ah! Whoa, hello.
Shit.
I agree, Mr. Allen. Biggest disappointment about this game? What? You have to shoot it twice? Okay, well, I'm just stupid, but you couldn't knock those over unless you shoot them twice, and I just now learned that. Look, we're all learning something new today. Jack says, Detroit Become Human. I've heard crazy stuff about that game. I've seen that one clip where you open up the game and it's like, your save file has been deleted. I think that's hilarious. Yeah, Detroit Become Human. I should look into that. This is what I mean by this game has great soundtrack. When it pops out with one of those, it's really freaky. Oh, hello. When did you get air? Favorite games of all time. I also am looking. I kind of want to play Metal Gear Rising again. It's just because it's just a fun game. So I think the system that I've created is working because there's so many genres that can fit into it. So I don't know. You guys have any other games that you're like, hey, this is a this disagrees with you? I think a game that might is Helldivers 2. I haven't actually played it, but it's like a massive online game. But you play it as an arcade, but you improve it like a kind of like a simulator game. So I don't know. I guess you could just call it an arcade simulator game. I don't want to know if that's not the right place I should go. Tyler mentions old RPGs like First Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy. Yeah, that'd be cool to go back and look at it. I'm so excited for like, because I'm taking a film history 1 class, and it is so. It's not boring actually. It's pretty cool, but like it's all black and white movies that aren't very interesting and fun, as compared to modern stuff. And but like if we ever get a class that's like video game history, that'd be sweet. I'm nasty with those knives. Who knows? I should throw that off the cliff. Alright, big guns. Yeah, you could say I'm a gamer. I still don't know why I'm collecting those thermoses. Did I nail it on the time? I was like, I'm going to stream for an hour and do 15 minutes of gaming and then 30 minutes of talking and then 15 minutes or however much longer I wanted gaming. Oh, where am I going? I look forward to the day where I can say where I can say chat. Just refer to you all as one conglomerate. Oh, thanks, Brad. G-Force. G-Force. That's the game. Or not the game. G-Force does have a game. I actually learned about this when I went on a Disney cruise like when I was 11, and they have this little game room there, and they had this super janky G-Force game. Like, it was weird. Like, I just have a vague memory. It was like one of those cool math game kind of things with like fake 3D graphics, and like you rolled around, you fought things as a. Are they gerbils? Hamsters? They're hamsters. Pee in his hand. Suddenly having you guys watch me play this game, it's become much less scary. It's kind of sad. But like I've jumped like good 3 times to this game, mostly for the musical cues. This is not a door. This, at least they destroy the stairs if you're gonna leave a door there. Oh, I have to go through the basement. No thanks. Oh, okay. Like a rat in a cage. Tom Riddle from Harry Potter? My name's Alan, not Tom. No. Someone named Tom did. If I got a PS4 or 5, I'd play The Last of Us. Because that's another one that I think that's probably the video game with the most praise for video games. I'm pretty good with horror games. Resident Evil probably would, but like Amnesia was freaky. What in the world? It's a dance party for this guy. Yeah, man, hit it. I'm not. This isn't like an actively scared, but it's just got me with the musical cues. Amnesia though, Amnesia made me constantly scared the first time I played it. No. I had bullet time right there. Oh, great, there's more. Resident Evil 7, huh? Lots of Resident Evils. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on them, see if they go on sale and we'll play them. But no, I think a video games. So my professor, when we were talking about video games one time, he's like, video games, you just don't have as much of an emotional connection to video games as you do with movies. And he's right, I'd say. Like, when Alan Wake here dies, it's not like heart wrenching for me, but I'm not thinking of any movies right now. But when characters die that you're attached to in a movie, it hurts. Like it's no fun thing. It's a tragedy, But in video game, it's like, oh, you died, I'll just respawn. Easy peasy. What is that? But I will say what video games do really well is intrigue, as I just demonstrated. And that's why I think horror games work so well.
See Cauldron Lake. I thought I could make out the spot where the island and the cabin had been. There was a light near it. It had to be a boat.
Because a player can actually go and explore. Like, if they're curious about something, they can go find it. So,
I was close now. I had to get there fast. I dreaded what I would find.
Wait! Are you? Wait! Hey, I'm here! I'm coming!
Yo.
No! Sorry! Sorry! Please, just leave! The boss didn't know who he was messing with! I didn't know! I swear, I didn't know!
the boss.
We don't have...
Who's the boss?
We don't know where she is! She's probably drowned! We just said we had her to make him play ball!
Yeah, I agree. Jack, when a game can make you feel depressed after someone dies. Oh, no. So this game has been getting a bug recently where just the audio just leaves. Just doesn't matter. So usually I turn on subtitles and I can read it. But not this time. Suddenly it's, less scary. Oh no! Like, you put the circus music behind that, it's like... Oh, dude, falling in the water? I like how everything water is just like, just always breaks a fall, but in reality that hurt like hell. It's got that 1,000-yard stare going. Yes, Tyler, I'd agree with you. Man, this is probably like really lore heavy and really important. Whoopsies. I'll have to watch this later. So this is what I mean, is it goes to this title screen, so this is the end of the chapter. Yeah, like in an example I can think of for Tyler and Jack is when in Batman Arkham Knight, there's a character who dies, and it's not good. It's actually pretty upsetting. And that I'd say, but main character wise, you're kind of an observer than a. Now I guess you kind of are in a movie too, but it's different in a movie because you're connecting to a character. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's gonna do it for tonight. So I'll try to post this as a VOD later or something. Yeah, keep me hit me up on Instagram or something if you enjoyed this, if you have more ideas, because I think this is really cool and I want to learn so much more. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, peace.